Tansai Toya, Mixisis Nitsikasun, Maskeg Sekochinia. My name is Young Eagle in Cree, but my government approved name is Walter White. WALTERWHITE, and I come from the Enoch Cree Nation. So when people ask what you do for a living, it's I kind of think of it in different terms, because what I do for a living is creator's work. What I do for money is a different story. We always tend to think that what we do for a living is based on your income level, what your career is, what your status is in the community. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that when it comes to our traditional values, because what we're all doing is we're all doing what Creator intended us to do, which is to help each other and to live in harmony with one another, and each and every living thing and non-living thing on this green grass world. The most rewarding part about what I do is watching people experience culture for the first time. To be able to come in and have that feeling of belonging. You know, as soon as they get that connection, the first time they hear that drum, you know, I've seen people walk in, as soon as they walk into a building and they feel that power, that drum beat in a ceremony, and they just break down and cry, even if they've never heard it before, never felt it in person. It just hits them in a place that it's hard to describe. You know, it speaks to their spirit, and that spirit opens up for them, and they don't know how to deal with those emotions, and you see them break down because they feel that they're at home. Finally, they're at home. Last night I was sitting here just over the side over here, and we have an event once a month where we bring our kids back here, the kids that are in care from our community, and we call family night, and we do cultural stuff with them and introduce them. And I brought a moose hide that I was working on, and there was a couple of young girls. Every time I do these kind of events in the communities, there's always some young child that tends to come and gravitate to that work, and as they start scraping that hair and the tedious and very time-consuming work, you know, it becomes very rewarding for them. They find drawn, and a lot of times it's these children that end up being labeled with a bunch of initials, ADHD, ADD, or whatever it is. You know, they find these tasks very satisfying, because, you know, the very slow progress that it goes, and the attention to detail, they can focus on the stuff because it speaks to them on a different level. They're able to connect and really feel at peace, you know. So you know, we're in the middle of NHL playoffs last night, and I'm a huge Oilers fan, and this girl was determined to finish, so I ended up staying back with her, and we finished up. I missed the whole first period, but you know, that's the way it goes. That's the choice we make. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices to help these kids find their way. So being involved with our culture, staying close to it, it gives us a deeper connection, and I think days go by when you don't have that connection in the morning. You're busy doing something else out in the world. You really feel that loss, you know, that you start to get aggravated or short-tempered, or a lot of different feelings that come along that really make it hard. And, you know, sometimes you have to step back and even just a smudge, or even just, you know, just touch of your feather, or just knowing your items are in a good, safe place. You think about songs or something, and it just kind of calms you down and brings you back to earth, and it really brings you back to a place where you feel safe and connected again, and you're able to better deal with today's world, I guess. Yeah. So my journey kind of took me on a little bit of a strange path, as a lot of us tend to go on. You know, I was never really connected to this community. I grew up here until I was 5. I went to kindergarten, but then my parents had split up. My dad had raised me and my 2 sisters away from here. We lived in Calgary for a while, and then in central BC for a while, and just kind of been in a few different places. But, you know, after I turned into an adult, I came back here, but I ended up getting into the cycles of big city life and the influences, and so I ended up getting involved with a lot of the addiction and drugs and alcohol and the gang lifestyles, and that it really kind of took me on a dark path. So I did kind of stay away from here. But after the day I Creator had saved me and blessed me and brought me to this good way of life. I went away, and so for the last almost 20 years now, I've been on a journey of just connecting, finding my way, and it's always amazing that the way that things sort of come to be. I've been given a lot of gifts, a lot of responsibilities as well, and but I've been able to manage to meet teachers from all over, different walks of life, different cultures and different tribes, and so it's a lot of those things that they've shared with me over the years. So I'm in the process of moving back home for the first time probably in almost 40 years. So I'm moving back here, and so I've been slowly connecting with the community, and I think that a lot of those things are really going to help me become a part of the community again. It's a lot of times we talked about the old ways, or where people were harmful to the community. They'd be doing stuff that was not beneficial to the tribe. They would be banished from the tribe. They would be sent away. So they'd go find their way, and they'd find a way to be able to contribute positively to the community and to a tribe, and they would be allowed back. So I think that kind of falls along the lines of where my life has taken me. I've been away for a long time. I've done a lot of I think good in many communities and a lot of places, and so now I'm being welcomed back, and it's nice to see a lot of the family and people out here that are happy to see me come home, and it makes me feel welcome, and it's really loved, because I wasn't always the case before. They knew if I was coming around, it was not up to much good. So it's good to be back here and contributing in a positive way, and helping the community heal, because we're all in a place where we have those impacts of many trials and tribulations that affect a lot of Indigenous peoples, and I'm far from being healed myself, but I'm on a good healing journey, and I like to see other people carry on that journey as well. So I've been very fortunate to have been exposed to a lot of different things. I've been to sweat lodges, round dances, sun dances, chicken dances. There's a number of ceremonies, and there's many ceremonies I haven't been to as well. I'd love to see them, but I try to stay connected. I'm not always very active in a lot of ceremony, because I do work for a living. I operate my own business, so it's tough becoming a Ogichita, a warrior in today's life. Because unfortunately we can't just go and hunt and fish all day and sing and dance all night. We do have to work. We have to get a job, and we have to be employed, and we have to pay bills. We have mortgage sometimes, or rent. We have to put food on the table. It's not the old ways. We can't just go walk into the next field and get what we need to feed our families. So we have to adapt to today's society. So finding that balance is very difficult. I'm very fortunate that I've been gifted with a good hard work ethic, and a feeling that I don't know how to quit. I just kind of go, akimemo, it's perseverance. We carry on, we keep doing it, and it all comes to pass. Things work out good if you start in a good way, good intentions. So one thing I've been really happy to see a lot lately is with the resurgence of what they call reconciliation these days. There's a lot of exposure to our culture. The things that people thought you just kind of see in museums or in books, or it was horribly depicted in movies and stereotypes in Hollywood. Realize that it's not that at all. We weren't those noble savages. We were actually a very loving, beautiful culture, and a very vibrant living culture. We're not just descendants of peoples that lived here before. We're an active living culture, and I see that a lot of people are very open to realizing and seeing it. And in some ways, it almost becomes like a thing of tourism. Cultural tourism, I guess, where people want to come to the powwows, they want to come to the round dances, they want to see people in their regalia, in their ribbon shirts and skirts, and the beautiful feathers and the dancing, and it's people are just realizing what a beautiful culture we have, and it's becoming more, I won't say mainstream, but it's more acceptable, and that's beautiful when we can all accept each other for who we are. It's a great world that way. I often wake up in the mornings and I think about how blessed I am to be where I am, and I don't know anything. I've been fortunate to have been shown a few things to be exposed and to live in a good life where I feel accepted and I feel connected. But I'm just a man. I'm just a human. I don't really know much. I'm very grateful for the things that I do have, and I think if we're able to revive a lot of things and expose a lot of more people to it, that they would feel as blessed as I truly feel, just to be connected in our way. Uh, I think it's going to take time. That's one thing they always talked about before. Ever since they signed the treaty, it's going to take 7 generations for people to come back, but it's going to take another 7 generations for us to heal again, and another 7 generations to be able to take back what we have. So it's going to take a while, but it just starts by keeping things open, by sharing with each other, by loving each other, by keeping each other connected, and just helping each other, one another, and that way we'll build each other up. And I think I don't believe that we'll ever get to the day where the buffalo will roam free on the prairies and we'll be moving our teepee from valley to valley anymore, but I think we'll find a way that we're able to live in harmony with each other and feel real connected and be proud. We can walk down the street in our ribbon shirt or whatever we want, and people will acknowledge that. We won't be that horrible stereotype of what an Indigenous person is. Sometimes it's the dirty drunk on the street, or the addict, or the person looking for a handout. Instead we're you don't see a lot of the hardworking Indigenous people, because they're working in the offices, they're working out in the fields and doing all the hard work. We're living and we're striving and thriving and we're existing, and one of our main teachings is humility. So the things that we do have and we're gifted with, we don't really flaunt it too much. We like to keep it humble, because we're very grateful for what we have, because it could easily go away. It was almost all taken away from us, and so we're very humble and gracious that what we do have is kept. And so we carry that on, and we'll continue to grow that and keep it connected and keep it hopefully very rigid to the way it was intended, the way it was given to us by Creator. And I think we'll find a way to find balance in this world that a lot of us really find difficult to look for. If there's any one suggestion I can give to anybody who's out there and doesn't really quite know, but they kind of feel that they're missing out on something's not quite a hit in their life, but when they notice they're nearby culture and they're connected, one thing I've always done is always keep tobacco in my pocket. Because you never know when teachers are going to show themselves to you. You could be anywhere. You could be in a bus stop. You could be at a gas station. You could be out for a walk in the middle of in the woods somewhere, and somebody will walk up and have something to share with you. And it's good to gift them that tobacco, to honor that spirit of that person who Creator had sent to you to share those things with you, to give you that gift. The other thing we always tend to forget about sometimes too, people kind of miss that in the message, is that even though everything in our culture is free, it's given to us freely, it's passed down generation to generation, we tend to think that we're entitled to it sometimes, but that's not always true. A lot of these gifts are earned. We earn our way. A lot of our lodges were called earning lodges. So you went and sat in them, and you tended to that fire, you filled those pipes, you smudged the place, you prayed with other people, you prayed for other people, you helped them, you sang, you did whatever you needed to do, whatever that lodge needed, you helped fill those gaps and make sure that the people that were there to pray got what they asked for. And then perhaps someday you will have earned the right to be able to share those things, to be given gifts that you can use to help other people with. So keep that tobacco. A teacher will show himself to you, and go and help, go learn, go and put yourself out there. It's a beautiful way of life. We aren't born elders. We aren't born knowing all this stuff. We have to slowly acquire that knowledge from over time, and it's not a race, and nobody wants to get old fast, but all the teachings and all the people will come to you at the right time if your heart is open and true and you're willing. Ai hai, kina nas kum tino wau.